introduce you to Dr. Sanderson. Dr. Sanderson's come all the way from London to speak to us today, and I think his talk's going to be a little bit controversial. Highly controversial, which should be quite interesting. And the truth of the matter is, you know, lots of different views on different subjects is a good thing. It's not necessarily right to keep looking at the medical model and bits and pieces. So,
well, I want you all to have a good look at that one, because it's important that if you come here, you're running a risk. You may end with some different beliefs. I hope you will. Or maybe you share some of my beliefs already. That would be a great start. So I want to start just by thanking Howard and Tiffany for having me on the program, because what I say is a bit controversial. It's spirits are rarely mentioned, and that's hardly surprising. Spirit is not an okay word in the society in which we live. In fact, it's strongly taboo to talk of spirits. But that's what I'm going to talk about today. So, spirits are not in our society. We're all so firmly embedded in the secular materialist culture where they simply do not fit. But I believe that the spiritual dimension is vitally important. And the only barrier to its acceptance is belief, the unseeing faith in science, despite conclusive evidence against it, the belief that science still knows best. Open is the operative word. It's what we need in psychiatry today. My opening occurred in 1992 when I was working as a consultant psychiatrist at Fairfield Hospital in Bedfordshire. At that time, I was a firm believer in the doctrine of materialist science, which holds that life on Earth has developed by chance, that human consciousness is born in the brain, and that nothing can survive the death of the body. And that was my belief, until I met Lance Trendall, a hypnotherapist and author of Dead Happy. And Lance believed that the spirits of the dead may join the living and cause considerable problems. That under hypnosis, they can be discovered and released. And the idea seemed preposterous, but scarcely new, for there are many accounts in the Bible of Jesus casting out unclean spirits, and the rite of exorcism is still practiced by the Christian Church. Lance's approach was different. It was not confrontational like exorcism, but sought only to suggest that the spirit leave. It is through hypnosis that communication with the unconscious and attached spirits is effected. Trance induction is the essential first step. Hypnosis, known as magnetism before James Braid renamed it in 1842, was the dominant research tool of psychiatry from 1775 until about 1890. Then came Freud, and Freud's genius popularized the importance of the unconscious as a power behind human behavior. But Freud's theorizing distorted his view, in my opinion. And instead of exploring the natural multiplicity of the unconscious through the physiological doorway of hypnosis, Freud imposed his no arbitrary division into superego, ego, and id. Freud's psychoanalysis, which grew from that, proved to be totally impractical as a therapeutic procedure. And psychiatry was plunged into almost total amnesia for its pre-Freudian past, for all those century and a half during which hypnosis was the main tool in psychiatry, and showed such a lot of activity going on in the unconscious. That's been forgotten. And as a result, psychiatric thinking remains closed to the enlightenment that hypnosis can offer. I invited Lance to come to Fairfield Hospital where I was working, and in joint sessions on some of my hospital patients, we tested his idea. There was one case which particularly impressed me. That was the case of Paul, a 19-year-old lad who had been admitted following a suicide attempt, and he was bombarded by voices, and he was also a danger to the staff, so he was on one-to-one supervision by the staff, and his parents came, paid for him to come and have this hypnosis, and he came along, and Lance had only been in session with him for minutes when Paul opened his eyes and said, "They're gone." And they had. He didn't hear any voices for a full week, and then they came back, but much fainter than before, and they never achieved the same control over him. He was able to go home and be again living with his parents. And that, for me, was a eureka experience. I'd never seen anything like it. So I took a course in hypnosis, and then I read all that I could about spirit possession, spirit release. There wasn't much. Edith Fiore is a psychologist of international repute, and I read her book, which I'd recommend to anybody. It's in print, The Unquiet Dead, published in 1987, and I was impressed with its detailed case histories and a certain sophisticated approach. So I then trained in spirit release therapy. I went to Florida and trained with Bill Baldwin, another psychologist, and at that time the world authority on the subject. And then I came and started using it with patients. It wasn't easy, and it was so difficult to know whether one should explain the situation or just say, as I did, I'd like to use hypnosis with you because I think it will bring things forward from the unconscious mind, which may prove to be very helpful. And many of the patients and I gained greatly from this experience. And I'm going to tell you about a case I treated. And I've chosen Clara, not her real name, because she was about 35, because her case is easy to follow, and each of the 4 attached human spirits used her voice to speak very clearly. She was an adept at hypnosis. It was very easy for her. And I first saw her at Fairfield Hospital following her emergency admission overnight, and I saw her the next day. She was admitted because of an extreme panic attack with head pains. She was much calmer when I saw her, but she still needed to be in hospital. And I treated her in hospital for 3 weeks, and used hypnosis with her, but not to release spirits or anything of that sort. She had a lot of relationship difficulties, several children by different fathers. She found her best to look after. She also was doing a responsible job, so she really had her hands full. But I helped her with hypnotherapy to deal with, or at least improve some of the relationship problems. And then she went home, and the diagnosis on the ICD-9, as it was in those days, was mixed anxiety and depressive disorder with panic attacks. And soon after discharge, she came on the phone and told me that she had spontaneous visualization in self-hypnosis. She'd seen a young woman in the market in the scene with another young woman in the dress of about 100 years before, early Victorian times. And she wondered what this was about. So when she came next, we explored the situation in hypnosis, and Henrietta, that's the name of the spirit that she'd seen, one that she'd seen in the market, came forward, and she said she had died of a fever more than a century before. And for some reason, Henrietta did not make, at that time, the normal transition to the light, which people talk about when describing a near-death experience. She reached a point where she seemed to be sitting on a bench in space, and no one came for her, so she went back again. And she found herself in a garden where there was a 4-year-old child, and that child was Clara. Henrietta felt lost, so she attached spiritually to this unknown child. And when she got there, she found there was another spirit with little Clara, and I got the other spirit. It wasn't apparent that Henrietta was causing any particular problem to Clara, but when Gladys came forward, it was very clear that she was a very dominant spirit. And she said that she was Clara's great aunt, and had died a couple of decades before Clara was born. Now this is, I'm back again. So I thanked, I spoke to Gladys and learned more about her. She said that her job, she decided when Clara was born, since her parents were, she considered incompetent, that she had come to help. And she was going to remain as a lifelong guide to Clara. Because of Clara's problems with these several partners, I was interested to know whether Gladys had influenced these rapid changes of affection. And so I asked her, I can imagine that perhaps you haven't always approved of Clara's friends. Oh, no, she said, not the men. No, quite. I said, now Gladys, it seems to me more than likely that you've actually influenced Clara, that you've affected her relationships with these men. Perhaps you've intended to do so. Oh, yes, of course. So you've actually tried to get them out of her life? Oh, definitely. Brutes. So it was this exchange more than anything that persuaded me that Gladys really was who she said she was. She was certainly of an entirely different nature to a gentle-mannered Clara. I ended the session. Soon after that, Clara went home, confused, but relieved to have had some light shed on her relationship problems. And she'd look into the family history and tell me more about it next week. And back she came the following week and confirmed that Gladys was indeed her great aunt and had died of cancer at 50, many years before she had been born, and was unhappily married, and her favourite son was killed in a car crash. In the session, Gladys spoke of her anger at her early death, but most of all at the anger at her battering alcoholic husband and the tragic death of her son at the age of 28. She accepted my offer to help her get rid of the anger, and I had her think of the good times with her husband before things went wrong, and then had her go back to the time of her death and to leave her anger in the body before she went on. And she did that, and then she was ready to go. Psychotherapy with spirits is a much faster business than it is with incarnate humans. And I said, well, now you can see your son. He'll be there for you. He'll be there in the light, waiting for you. And seconds later, Gladys gave a whoop of joy and left. We then released Henrietta, and I used finger signals to inquire about whether there might be other entities. Is there anyone there? I asked the unconscious, and the no finger lifted. Well, things are not always correct. So I always ask after that, I'm using that technique, is there anyone hiding? And the yes finger moved. And in a matter of seconds, Clara became very agitated. She cried out, putting her hand to her head, and she couldn't continue until I had helped to settle her with calming imagery. What's happening, Clara? Oh, we need to help Jack. He's so frightened. He's crying. The spirit, Jack, aged 17, comes forward. He's just left the pub and is fooling around with his mates. And in his words, still mucking about and just step off the pavement, crash, I'm hit, just hit. I look down and there's me, there's blood everywhere. His mates sit down on the side of the road and wait for the ambulance. And when the ambulance comes, in Jack's words, they put me in there, but I go as well. We both go, me and the body. When he got to the hospital, he was so upset that I had to stop asking him any questions. But he was ready to go to the light where his mother meets. There was also an older man, Tony, who died on the floor of his bedstead in a drunken stupor, and he tells how he woke up thinking he'd been asleep, and then goes on to the 100 Club, the London Club, which was in difficulties a year or two ago. I'm not sure whether or not I've ever been there, whether it's surviving. Anyhow, he went there. They wouldn't serve him with a drink. Not surprisingly, since he was invisible to them. And he tried to speak to a young woman, which happened to be Clara. And in his words, she wouldn't speak to him. She was ignored him. And he said, I get really angry, silly cow. So I said, what comes next? Oh God, he said, I'm in her. So it seemed that he had just joined her at that moment without realizing what was going on. And so I helped him to move on too. So then all four of them were gone. And Sarah, I think, came to see me once more after that. I kept in touch with her by telephone. And she wrote me an account. 15 months later, I'll read you part of it. For as long as I can remember, I had suffered with a profound lack of confidence. In situations of confrontation or pressure, I never felt in control of my thoughts or decisions. I experienced inexplicable mood swings. Since adulthood, I've had problems in maintaining relationships, particularly with men, often experiencing feelings of consuming love for them one day and extreme loathing the next. Of the spirit release session, she says, as Henrietta spoke, I was aware that it was through my voice, but I felt a total bystander, as if watching the stage play. I felt little emotion up to this point, other than total fascination. However, as soon as Gladys started to speak, I immediately felt tense and intimidated, like a little child. Of Jack, who was killed while drunk, she said, "He seemed so frightened and insecure. Although I didn't know him, I could recognize his emotions and excesses only too well. As we helped him to re-experience his death, I felt in my head the pains I had experienced before my admission to hospital. In the 15 months since the end of my treatment, I no longer have any pains in my head or feel the urge to drink excessive amounts of alcohol. I have lost 15 kilograms excess weight without dieting and am down to 5 cigarettes a day. My moods are much more reliable and I'm nothing like so sensitive to people's remarks. I have listened to the recordings of my sessions dealing with spirit attachment, and I must say I find them a little disturbing. Although I know the voice speaking on the text belongs to me, when any of the spirits speak, the tone and pattern of my speech is very different. And Clara concludes, I now have much more energy than before and need 25% less sleep. I take full responsibility for my life and, more important, thoroughly enjoy it. That was 19 years ago. I last spoke to Clara 7 years later, when she was happy and in excellent health. Today, using the current International Classification of Diseases, edition 10, Clara would have been placed in the category mixed anxiety and depressive disorder with panic attacks. This says nothing about a possible cause. An etiological diagnosis outside the accepted medical system might be covert spirit attachment, and it's important to note that people with attached spirits usually don't know that they have them. Of course, sometimes people come along saying, oh yes, I've got this spirit that's talking to me, or that's trying to control me, things of that sort. But most people, and it's not at all uncommon, who have attached spirits are unaware of their presence. So, the diagnosis today would be, or my diagnosis would be covert spirit attachment affecting relationships, confidence, energy level, mood, alcohol intake, and headaches. And this is clearly a more useful description since it gives the cause of the troubles. And as we heard in the discussion at the beginning today, psychiatric diagnosis is, as used today, is in a very primitive state, simply describing symptoms with, in most cases, little to say about what the cause may be, although it seems to be assumed, without a great deal of evidence, that there's a biological cause for most psychiatric problems. These spirit influences were entirely unsuspected by Clara, and I certainly didn't suggest them to her. She was greatly benefited by the treatment, and so it seems were the spirits who didn't return. Only 2 sessions were needed. This is rather unusual. I sometimes help people in 1 session, but sometimes it takes much longer than that. There are all sorts of reasons why spirits attached. There may be a past life connection to the person, which needs to be sorted out. There may be, and frequently are, parts of the personality which have, as it were, opened the door to the spirits, or needed them, or wanted them for some reason. And that needs to be gone into. There are no side effects to this treatment, unlike a lot of things which are done in conventional psychiatry. And so, what does the Clara case tell us? If you'd been there, as I was, listening to the different voices coming out of her, each with its contrasting tones and remarkable utterances, I think you would have been impressed, even convinced of their authenticity. They might be read from a book or seen on the screen, interesting at the time, but you're not gripped by it as you would have been if you'd been there. Had you been present, you might, like me, have had a conversion experience, as I had when last treated Paul at Fairfield in 1992. Now, so subjective experience is very important in deciding beliefs. People don't readily change their beliefs unless it's something, certainly not on hearing what someone else has to tell them. It usually has to be their own experience. The crucial importance of this case lies in its being so completely at variance with scientific orthodoxy and contemporary medical and psychiatric thinking. You've heard a short account of just one uncomplicated case treated with spirit release. But how much more informative this is than a graph comparing large numbers of patients in groups with the same diagnosis receiving different medications. That tells one nothing about them as individuals. What would medical science say to an account such as Clara's? A shrug of the shoulders? No double-blind trial? No comment. Of course, research studies are needed. But this is not easy. There are no research funds available for this sort of thing on the NHS. Certainly the drug companies who supply most of the NHS money don't provide money for this sort of things. It's difficult to know how it could happen, the necessary research. Medical science never extends its scrutiny to phenomena beyond the current materialist paradigm. 400 years ago, the distinguished scientist, also Chancellor of the Exchequer, Francis Bacon, made a highly pertinent statement in this connection. So, whether we believe that Clara's story is a spiritual manifestation or not, we must all agree that it is a remarkable event, worthy of detailed analysis. And one can look at it on several levels. I haven't got time to go into them in any detail, of course, but first of all, were they really spirits? What is the evidence for that? How can this be explored? What questions should we be asking? What should we be asking the spirits? If we're interrogating a spirit, should that spirit have a mental state examination to decide that it's a spirit which is really capable of giving an unbiased report? Well, so there's a lot to be inquired into. Secondly, is it a hoax perpetrated by the therapist or the patient? Well, this would certainly be a likely reply by a skeptic. The skeptics believe, it seems, that their job is to protect science from being undermined. I don't think that science is in a great deal of danger of being undermined at present, but there the skeptics are. I had a conversation with a skeptic on a podcast not very long ago, and the demand there is to ask proof. And they repeat the mantra, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Well, what is the meaning of extraordinary in this context? It's easy to make extraordinary such an enormous hurdle that nothing can get past it. A third factor, what is the therapeutic future for spirit release? Well, if Clara can be so greatly benefited by the procedure, can similar processes be used with others? Well, I've used them with hundreds of people. I haven't succeeded in all of them, of course. And sometimes I've thought I've succeeded and they weren't much benefited. But in general, it does prove to be a very effective treatment. And there's more to be learned on how to make it more effective. And we've got to ask ourselves, if this is a spiritual manifestation, how may it affect our life and behavior generally? Could have an enormous effect. And of course, the fifth question I would ask is, where is psychiatry on this? Psychiatry shows not the least interest. And I would suggest that there'll be theorizing about whether these are actually spirits or what they are. The fact is that treating them as spirits in this way and helping them to leave can be amazingly beneficial. And surely that is a good reason for continuing with this sort of treatment and exploring it further, not for shrugging one's shoulders and turning away. So what are the growing points for spirit release today? I'm glad to say that there are many therapists worldwide doing spirit release and related work. In particular, there's one psychologist who's come to prominence very recently, Dr. Thomas Zinser, who began working on ego states and attached spirits, and then has advanced our knowledge immensely. And his work is still continuing. I hope that what I wrote will be made available in handouts, because the references is a list of recommended reading, and the references are there. And spirit release is widely practiced by spiritist psychiatrists in Brazil, where their scientific work is progressing steadily. In the UK, an impressive book the first edition was so expensive that I don't think anyone could buy it. It was privately printed. But now it's in its second edition, which has been revised and is being published by another publisher in Cambridge, and which will be out very soon. And that is very interesting, and it focuses particularly on the cause of spirit attachment, the suggestion of the cause of possession, as it's still sometimes called. And it does seem, the suggestion is that telepathy might play an important part. Of course, that too needs to be investigated intensively. In the UK, there's the Spirit Release Forum, an organisation, www.spiritrelease.org, which is active in providing a focus for those interested in spirit release. And the forum runs a training program, and it can provide supervision for trainees and for therapists who are working in this area. The forum is a growing community which I hope will thrive, and it's led by David Furlong, who's a very experienced individual who's been working in the spiritual dimension for many decades. Spirit release and related therapies are, to me, tremendously exciting developments. But how does one bridge the yawning perceptual gap? It's like asking somebody to climb a ladder with several of the adjacent rungs missing. It's just more than they can do. So one has to look for intermediate approaches to bring spirit release and spirit attachment to people's knowledge. One intermediate step might be the study and therapy of some personalities or ego states, which is much wider use than it used to be. There are several psychologists around the world who are using it, and just checking on the internet a couple of days ago, I see that there are a number of practitioners offering it in the UK. not yet in the NHS, but I hope that that is not too far away. Mindfulness, about which you'll be hearing this afternoon from Dr. Russell Razak, is an increasing practice in the NHS. Quite a lot of psychiatrists are now using it. This is another possible entry point for focused spiritual interventions. Once mindfulness is available, then psychiatrists are more interested and patients more interested in consciousness, the foundation of consciousness, and exploring there. And I hope that that will lead to the use of hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy is, as I've said, virtually ignored in medicine. And it is such an essential key to unlocking the unconscious mind. I'm going to close with a riddle for psychiatry. When is a new treatment more than a new treatment? Answer: when it's a new belief system. Introducing this belief system is obviously a very long way off. Call it a new paradigm. My son, who I gave this to, who's teaching mindfulness in Poland, of all places, he read it and said, well, I think perhaps the belief system is getting a bit much for everybody, but a new paradigm might be more acceptable. So whatever you like to think of it as, it's a big change in one's view of how psychiatric patients can be helped, and of how the spiritual dimension must be brought into our lives and our concepts of life on earth. What a difference that could make. So bringing in spirit release into the NHS may require many small steps rather than a few giant leaps. But while conventional psychiatry works its way from its present state of symptom suppression to a state of symptom comprehension and related treatment, the advances will continue to come from non-medical practitioners working privately. But the hope for research from them, since they're unfunded, is not very great. But I hope the time will come soon when these new concepts of treatments will be welcomed by psychiatrists and adopted by the NHS. For countless suffering human beings who lack an embracing meaning to life, it cannot come too soon. And now it's your turn.